Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Hannah. For today's video, we're gonna be doing my long-lasting foundation routine slash complexion routine. So I'm gonna be showing you things or how I like to do my complexion part of my makeup to make it last through heat, if I'm gonna be wearing it for long hours, or if I'm just gonna be going to a special occasion or just a time where I really want my makeup to last. This is what I would be doing. So yeah, make sure to subscribe down below, give this video a thumbs up if you do enjoy it, and let's get on with the makeup tutorial. Okay, so I already did my eyes off camera, just something super simple. I just threw a little bit of eyeshadow in the crease, a little shimmer on the lid, and that's pretty much all I did. And I put on mascara, so yeah, I already did like the eye portion of this off camera so we can really focus on the face. So first things first is we're gonna do primer, which by the way, a really important step in making your foundation last and really making it go on smoother and look better is skincare. Skincare is super important. Make sure you're exfoliating, cleansing, toning, doing your serums, doing your moisturizer, doing your eye cream. It's really gonna help your makeup to look better overall and last more. So yeah, just keep that in mind, that skincare is the most important thing. And I've already done all my skincare, so we're just gonna go ahead and move on to the face. So for primer, I'm going to be using my two favorites, or actually three favorites. So the way that I prime, I do have oily skin. If you don't know, I have super oily skin, especially since it is summer where I live. So we're really wanting to make sure we're taking care of the skin. But just because you have oily skin doesn't mean you can't use a hydrating primer. I actually love using hydrating primers. It just really adds that moisture. It helps to kind of balance out the oil. Sometimes you have oily skin because your body isn't getting enough moisture, so it's overproducing the oil. So just because you have oily skin doesn't mean you can't use hydrating primers. But on the flip side of that, you don't want to use dewy primers. Like, I don't like to use oil-based primers. I really don't use oils at all just because I feel like it's just not good for my skin. I do have oily skin. So I don't like to use dewy, oily primers or silicone-based primers, just because I feel like that makes my makeup slip and slide all around. But I do like to use hydrating primers, at least as my first part of my routine. So this is the Too Faced Hangover RX Replenishing Face Primer. I've talked about this one a lot on my channel. I love this primer. It's super nourishing. It feels really good on the skin. It's really hydrating, and I feel like it has like almost like a little bit of a tacky not consistency. Like, it kind of leaves a little bit of a tack, but nothing crazy. But I just really like how it looks on my skin, how it makes my skin feel, and it doesn't make me oily. Oh, now that we've let that kind of sink into the skin, I'm gonna go with my next primer. I am using quite a few primers, but I like to use different primers for different things. So that was my hydrating one. You obviously can only, like, you don't even have to use primers if you're not a primer person. Some people don't like them, then that's fine. Or you can just use one, or you can use 3, or you can use 16. I don't care. But my next primer is more for the grip, more for really helping the foundation to stick and to stay on. And this is the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip Primer. Again, I've talked about this one a lot on my channel. As you can see, I've used almost half of it. It's a very sticky primer, hence the name's gripping. It does really help to make sure that my makeup is going to grip and stay on. And in case you don't know, I have mentioned this quite a few times, but just in case, this primer, you definitely want to make sure that you are letting it sink into the skin. Give it like a minute or two before you go over it with foundation or anything, because since it is so sticky and so gripping, it can kind of make the makeup cling and become patchy. So just keep that in mind, but it's very gripping. I really like it. Okay, and for my next primer, I want to go in with a oil controlling primer. Again, I know it's excessive, but this really helps my makeup to last. So this is the SMASHBOX Photo Finish Oil and Shine Control Primer. Another primer I've raved about on this channel. As you can see, I have used this primer a lot. This one is really good. Probably the best one I've found for oil control and for filling in the pores. I feel like so many pore filling primers have so much silicone in it that my makeup just slides around. So I used to stay away from pore filling primers, but ever since I found this one, I love it. It's so good. So for foundation, you can use any foundation you want. Obviously, maybe something that's going to be a little bit more suited for your skin type. So you have oily skin, maybe like a matter foundation, or foundation that's going to help to control oils. If I use these primers, I can use a lot of the foundations that I have. I do like hydratings. I like the Smashbox hydrating foundation. I like the Laura Mercier Lumiere Radiance Perfecting foundation. I'm trying to think. I like the ones that are hydrating but not dewy. Like I said with the primers or the hydrating primer, I can use a hydrating foundation. Just because it's hydrating doesn't mean it's going to make me oily. It's just I stay away from the glowy, dewy ones that are suited for drier skins, because then I am going to get oily. But just like the Smashbox hydrating foundation, I love that foundation. But in the summertime, I definitely need a mattifying primer, or I need a mattifying foundation mixed in with it. But I still love that foundation and use it constantly. But for today, I'm going to use two of my favorite foundations. So I have the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Soft Matte Longwear Foundation in the shade 120. And then I also have the Dose of Colors Meet Your Hue Foundation in the shade 103 Fair. So these two I love separately, and I love mixing these together. I used to, like last summer, I mixed these together almost every single time I did my makeup. I love these. This is like a medium buildable coverage foundation, and it is a soft matte, so I feel like it's like a demi matte. It's like, or demi matte? Demi? I wouldn't say this is like a complete matte foundation. It's nothing like the Smashbox Total Coverage Foundation or Full Coverage Foundation, or whatever that one was called. This one is more of like it's going to give you that soft matte, but it's not going to be like drying matte. And then this one is definitely more matte than this one. I do feel like this one has more coverage too, but this one's definitely more matte. So yeah, I'm just going to mix these two together. So I do like a pump of each. I like to keep my foundations a little bit more on the medium side. I don't know, I feel like with concealer and everything else with powders, I just like to keep my foundation on the medium side so it doesn't get too heavy. So sometimes I'll go in with a sponge, sometimes I go in with a brush. It kind of just depends on what I'm feeling that day. Lately I've been using a brush and then going in with my sponge, so that's what I'm going to do today. If I was going to do a sponge, I would go ahead and spray my face with like a setting spray or just like some kind of spray. But so I'm going to go with my Urban Decay All Nighter, and I'm actually going to spray the brush. So I've seen Jackie Aina do this a lot. She likes to do this with her foundations. So that's what I'm going to do. It really helps to just, you're almost like pushing in the foundation and setting spray together. And it's just, I really like it. So I just like to do that. And I just do little tapping motions. I'm just pushing it into my skin. I'm not like swirling it or anything. And this is the ALAMAR bronzer brush, but I like to use it for foundation. I will go over this with the sponge just to make sure everything is really nice and blended. And of course, we're dragging it down our neck. You never know if the foundation is going to oxidize or if it's just not a good match for you. Also, real fast, another trick, a lot of these I have learned from Jackie Aina. She's just, I love her. I don't know who doesn't love Jackie Aina. But another trick I learned from her is I don't really take my foundation into like the center of my face. So I don't take it underneath my eyes, and I don't take it around my nose, because I just feel like it makes it get cakey, especially, you know, like in the crevices of your nose. It's really easy for product to build up around there. So I just really like to kind of leave that area bare and just let the concealer and the powder do the work there, and just leave off the foundation. And I feel like that really helps it to last better. And even if I do start to get it a little bit shiny or oily, that's really just, it's not going to be looking cakey. So I just like to keep my foundation kind of away from there and just go with my concealer. But I am going over this with my sponge. So I'm just going to wipe this. See, I didn't even use all of that, so I could definitely use like maybe a half a pump of each. But anywho, so I'm going to go ahead and go with concealer. Again, I like a lot of concealers. Some of my favorites is the Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion. I really like the Too Faced Born This Way. That one has like a natural finish. The Tarte Shape Tape, I like that one. It definitely has more of a matte finish. I'm trying to think, what else do I like? Oh, from the drugstore, I like the L'Oreal Infallible, what was it called? Full Coverage Concealer, I think is what it's called. The e.l.f. Cosmetics 16 Hour Wear Chemo Concealer, the matte one. I haven't tried the hydrating one. And then the Maybelline Age Rewind's a good concealer. For right now, that's all I can think of. But today we're going to be using the Tarte Shape Tape, I think. Or do I want to go? I just got some more of these Too Faced. I have BoxyCharm, so like a lot of things will go on sale there. And so the Swan, Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer, I had the shade Swan. But I went ahead and picked up Cloud because I've mentioned it before, but this shade is just super yellow on me, and I kind of want something a little bit more neutral towards pink. I feel like for Too Faced, their neutral shades are super yellow, and then their pink shades are pretty neutral. I mean, they have like a hint of pink, but nothing crazy. I just feel like with them, I go for more pink shades because they run so yellow. But I think I'm gonna just use, so I have the Tarte Shape Tape concealer, and this is in the shade 12 in Fair and Neutral. So I'm just gonna use this. I just use a little bit of it. I don't do like the triangle, but I also don't do like that thing on TikTok that everybody's doing right now where it's like a little dash and then like a little right here. I just do like a line here, here, and here. So I just do like that much. On my nose, I put a little more just because we didn't put foundation there, so I do need like the coverage because I get a lot of redness there. And then I'm just gonna add it here. You can really skip that step if you want to, but I don't know. I feel like it like balances it out, especially if I was doing this. Sometimes I'll go in with like a little bit of a deeper shade and like really counter out the blueness. And then I'll go in with like a brighter shade, and I just kind of take it mostly here just to really like lift and brighten up, and then I'll take it on the T-zone. I like to use like a more fuller coverage concealer for the coverage, and if I was gonna go in with a brightening concealer, which I'm not gonna do today, but you could do this if you want, I like to use more of like the sheer medium coverage. So I really like the Makeup Forever one for that. I just feel like it has like a really, it's pretty like low coverage. I would say at the most it's like a medium coverage, but I like to use that one for brightening. I'm gonna let this sit for like a couple minutes. That's just gonna really help it to kind of get a little tacky. Now, if your concealer dries super fast, you don't want to do this because then it's just gonna dry and set. But I like to let it get a little tacky. Again, Jackie Anna's tip. I feel like Jackie Anna's just kind of like the queen of YouTube. Okay, so the next step is bronzer, and I've actually been really liking to do cream bronzer. I really like the Fenty Beauty cream bronzers. I've mentioned those in a favorites video. I've used them on my channel before, but I also like to use concealers as bronzers. I've just started doing that. It's kind of hard to find shades online, so I kind of guess with this one. I could definitely go like a little bit lighter here, but I still make it work. I just use a little tiny bit. So So I have the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer in the shade Honey. Like I said, I could go a little bit lighter, but I just use a little bit light hand, and I just kind of take my time with it. I like to use my ALAMAR Cosmetics Complexion Brush. So I like to use this one for cream bronzers. This does kind of help to make your makeup last longer, like the bronzer, because you're pretty much just gonna be putting on a base bronzer and setting it. If you have drier skin, you don't even have to set it if you don't want to. I really blend this out on the back of my hand, like I'm taking a tiny little bit and really working it into my hand before I go into my face. So I'm just doing little tapping motions really lightly. Again, you don't want too much product. I don't like taking it right out of the tube and just putting it onto my face. I like to really work it into the back of my hand and then apply it to the face so you don't get too much product too fast. I just feel like then that's when it starts to get muddy. That's when it starts to get heavy and hard to blend. But the good thing about concealers is they are made for coverage and blending, so it's a lot easier to just work with those. But the Fenty Beauty Cream bronzers are really easy to work with too. They're really buildable. So yeah, but we're just doing little tapping motions. I kind of want also like a more neutral shade. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with my sponge that we blended our concealer and foundation with and just blend over this. Just to make sure everything's really pushed into the skin, really melted into the skin. For powder, we're going to go ahead and go in with this Laura Mercier translucent powder. I love this powder. Okay, but a really good loose setting powder from the drugstore is the Maybelline Fit Me powder. They have a lot of shades. I think they have like 8. I could be wrong, but they have really good shade range. And the powder is super nice. I really want to get that, but again, I haven't been into any stores. Especially since like makeup is like not a necessity. I have makeup, so I'm not gonna like go into a store for it. Well, not yet. So I'm just going in with this Laura Mercier translucent. I'm just pushing it in. So I have my damp sponge. I'm tapping it off on the back of my hands before I go in so we don't get too much powder. This is like the preset, so I really set my T-zone. I set this this is what I use to set my entire face. But I'm going with the damp sponge because it's not going to make it too powdery. It's really going to push it into the skin, make it more skin-like. And I'm also tapping it off so we don't get too much. Just a light set. This is really going to help your makeup last, to kind of set it first with the powder with a damp sponge and then bake it. If you have dry skin, obviously this would be too much powder for you and you're not going to want to do that, but it doesn't look powdery. I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, I'm pretty sure Kylie Jenner's makeup artist, Makeup by Ariel, pretty sure he does this, but I could be wrong. I could be thinking about somebody else, but that's who I'm pretty sure it is. He likes to kind of preset. But yeah, so now we're going to go ahead and go in with bronzer. So I'm pretty much going to set that cream bronzer, even though I already did with translucent powder. But I just like to add a little bit more color. So we're just going to go in with this bronzer. I've never used this before. This is the AESTHETICA Sunset Bronzer. I don't know if that's the color. It doesn't say, but that's what I'm going with. This is what it looks like. So yeah, I've never used this bronzer. I got it in BoxyCharm. I'm going with my big fluffy brush and just really lightly going over that bronzer. This is the M527 by Morphe. It's a really good bronzer brush. Definitely has a lot of kickback for sure. It's pretty powdery. Okay, so now we've done that, we're gonna go ahead and bake. So I like to bake, some people don't. So whatever you want to do, but I feel like this really helps my makeup to last. I'm gonna mix 2 powders. Sometimes I'll mix powders, sometimes I don't. Just feels like it's just kind of like how I feel that day. So I'm gonna go mix the Fenty Beauty Butter Powder, or the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Instant Retouch Setting Powder in the shade Butter, and I'm gonna mix it with my Laura Mercier. I definitely think the Laura Mercier is a little bit more matte. Yeah, I feel like the Fenty Beauty and the Maybelline Fit Me are very similar textures. They're very like fine powders. So I'm just gonna mix these 2. Sometimes I'll use a more brightening powder like the Fenty Beauty Lavender or the Huda Beauty Cupcake. And I'll mix those with like the Laura Mercier or like a more translucent shade, just so it's not too intense. But today I'm just gonna go in with these. Oof. And I am using a dry sponge just because it's really good for baking. It really helps like pick up the product. I'm just gonna put this in my T-zone and then I'm just gonna clean up my bake. Or my bronzer, not my bake. So when I bake underneath my contour, I always use a more translucent or a shade that's closer to my skin tone, and then underneath my eyes I'll go with like a brightening shade or translucent like I did today. So normally I would let this sit for, I don't know, like 5 minutes, maybe not even 5 minutes. I usually will do my lower lash line while I'm baking, or I'll just kind of do something else while I'm baking. And if I want it to last, if I'm not caring so much about lasting, sometimes I'll skip the baking, or I just won't let it sit for that long. Since I'm not going anywhere today, I'm just gonna go ahead and dust it off. So yeah. So underneath my contour, normally I'll just kind of, I don't let it sit for too long. But for underneath my eyes, around my nose, I go back in with my damp sponge and I really push this powder in. So pushing this in is just really gonna help to fill in the pores, make it look a little bit more flawless. And it almost gives it a little bit more of a natural look because you're pushing that powder in with like a damp sponge instead of just brushing it all off and having like that leftover powder behind. So I just really like to push this in. I do this in almost every makeup tutorial. Just every time I bake, I push it in. But it doesn't look heavy, it doesn't look powdery, it doesn't look cakey. Because we are pushing it in with that damp sponge. It's just really helping to mesh that powder in with your skin. It just makes it look a lot more flawless. Really, do you ever feel like when you're doing your makeup for camera or you're doing your makeup to go somewhere, your makeup never turns out good, but when you're just sitting at home doing your makeup for nobody, it couldn't look better. Your best makeup day you've ever had. That's how I feel every time I film. Like makeup never looks as good, but it's fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and set or spray my face. You could go in with a setting spray right now if you want, but I'm actually gonna go in with a spray that's, it's not really a setting spray, it's just kind of a spray that's really gonna help to melt the powders into the skin. If you are looking powdery, this is really gonna help to counteract that. It's just gonna really help to make it look a little bit more skin-like and melt everything in. So this is the CIATE Everyday VACAY Coconut Setting Spray. I've really been liking this one. I love the mister on it. But I like the Mario Badescu sprays. Really, you can use anything. Or you could just go ahead and with your setting spray. Whatever your little heart desires. We'll go in with a little highlight today. I've been wearing it more recently. So this is the NATASHA DENONA Super Glow highlight in the shade 01 Fair. This is just like a nude champagne shade. That's like pretty much, I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. I don't know. But this one isn't super blinding. It's very skin-like. It melts into the skin really well. And if you do wear highlights, I really like to spray the face before it. I know everybody used to spray the brush. I used to be that girl. But now I like to spray the face, let the setting spray kind of set into the skin a little bit, give it a few seconds to sit in, and then go with the highlight. That's really going to make it sink into the skin, not look super powdery, and just melt it into the skin. So I don't do highlight every single day. I go through my phases with highlight. More often than not, I do just a full matte face and I don't even use highlight, but why not? Today, I've been wearing it a lot more recently. I did not mean to put it on my nose. I don't like it on my nose. I literally just do it here, like from like the top of my eyebrow to my temple to here. I feel like if you do it on your temple, it really just gives such a like natural glow. And now I'm gonna go, I didn't get blush. Did I get blush? I got blush. So I got this in the Boxy Charm sale. I have been really wanting to try these. The only one they had was the medium to tan. So this is the ALAMAR Cosmetics Colorette Blush Trio in medium to tan. So this is what it looks like. It's like a peachy, pinky blush. Maybe I'm just mix these two. I might mix in a little bit of that one, but I'm gonna mix these two. So I'm gonna go with my blush brush. This is the E4 I Love Blush. I've been taking it up here a little bit more recently, like blending it up. If you wear highlights, or if you wear highlight a lot, this is really going to help to blend your highlight and your bronzer together. Oof, I love this blush. I think these are matte. They're super soft and pigmented. Yeah, they're matte. But just start back here and work my way to the apples. Keep it nice and high. That's just gonna really help to make your cheekbones look a little bit higher up. And then a little trick, I just take a tiny little bit and just kind of blend it very lightly onto the head, onto the forehead. I just feel like that really helps to kind of put everything together. I actually meant to take, all I do for nose contour, I don't contour my nose. I just like to add a little color so it's not so dull compared to the rest of the face. I either take a little bronzer or a little blush on a big brush. I just add color to the nose. I don't really like to contour anymore. I never really contoured my nose. I just liked a little bit of color there. So that's pretty much all I did there. You could add blush. If you add blush, it kind of adds like that cute little like, you know, I'm a little sunburned. I just came in from outside. I was so hot. The sun just kind of kissed the nose a little bit. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and set the face. So I'm gonna use my Urban Decay All Nighter. I love this setting spray. I feel like it just helps to really lock everything in and make it last. Another good drugstore dupe for this one is the Milani Make It Last setting spray. I like the original one and I like the matte. I don't use the dewy, of course, but the original one and the matte one, I love those. You don't get much in them is the only thing that sucks. You only get like, I want to say it's 4 or 6 ounces. It's a really small bottle, but it's so good and I love it. But yeah, I really like this one too. This is the one I have. I don't have the Milani one. Again, I haven't been anywhere to go get it. But this is a really good setting spray. So I'm just going to really set the face. I'll normally set like 1 to 2 times if I really want it to last. Instead of using that coconut setting spray, I probably would use my other setting spray. Or I'll just kind of go in with it again. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and do my lower lash line or put some mascara on my lower lash line and do my lips off camera and I'll be right back. Okay guys, so that is the end of this makeup tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really wanted to give you some tips and tricks and really go in depth on how to make your makeup last longer. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.